All right, everyone, welcome to the Q1 release of Novacura Flow. We're going to go through our features that we've released over Q1 and also some future features that will come in the next coming quarters. Please remember, much like our previous sessions, we want you to use the Q&A section for all questions. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little Q&A button. If you click that, you are welcome to ask any questions you want on what you see here today, and also maybe even some future thinking questions. We will monitor this throughout the session and do our best to respond. If we cannot respond at that point in time during the presentation, we will respond at the end. We have some time allocated. In this meeting, you'll hear from a few of our product owners and managers, as well as our business applications teams team leads. These will be the individuals answering most of the questions today and also presenting to you. So we have Andreas, a product owner of the platform and the designer team, also known as Studio. Malin will be here as a product owner for our clients and portal team. Adam is the team lead for business applications, and Lukasz is the group lead for that one. Both will be presenting today on the new changes that are coming with the marketplace. I am obviously here as the host of the product, as the product manager. Irshad will be talking through some of the runtime items, and he'll also be monitoring the Q&A. Lloyd is the product owner for the integrations team, and Alexandra is the product owner for our AI team. Our agenda breaks down a little something like this today. We will obviously go through the introduction I'm doing right now. We'll talk a little bit about the Flow Connect changes, then change into the marketplace updates, followed by Flow Classic. Then I will present a bit about our roadmap, where we'll land with some Q&A, and we'll do our best to get to all the questions that you may have for us. I talked about this in the last meeting, but just a friendly reminder, why do we do these quarterly updates? Our goal is that we want to give full visibility into what we're building in R&D. This is an opportunity for you to see how our development aligns with your needs and the needs of your customers. We want to make sure that we validate our roadmap. It's a meeting for us to not only just show what we've built, but what we're planning to build in the future, and hopefully even foster a better feedback loop. So at the end of each of these, we like to showcase what we're doing inside of the product in the coming updates, and then ultimately try to get your feedback. Hopefully your voice helps shape our prioritization. And also a quick reminder that we do these quarterly. All of these are recorded and they are posted to our YouTube channel. We will only go through the updates of the past quarter. So for those who have missed our user conference and previous quarterly updates, we recommend catching up on these in our YouTube channel for an overview of Flow Connect. Again, we will only be focusing on the net new features. So if this is your first time here, we strongly suggest that you look at what's previously been developed and check out our YouTube. So we've developed quite a lot in Flow Connect. The features here represent the progress made over the quarter. Beyond what we're demoing today, to explore all these capabilities, we suggest that you visit our release logs at docs.novacura.com. Once again, there will be a lot of information shared. Make sure you use the Q&A section and ask any questions you might have on what's being demoed. With that said, Lloyd is going to showcase a little bit of automations in Connect.
So I'm Lloyd Briggs, the product owner for the integration team, and we have been working on a product called automations within Novacura Connect. Automations are effectively an enhanced full replacement for machine workflows. If you have used machine workflows in the classic product, then you will know what these are. With automations, it allows you to create a non-interactive application that you can trigger externally or via a scheduled process. It will be a new type of product within an application package. It supports asynchronous requests, so we can handle long, extended runtime executions of your automations. We have complex scheduling options as well available, so you can schedule, by week, month, or hour or minute. You can create just regular components within Connect that allows you to attach those to automations. So the building of these automations is very simple and standard to what you're used to now. It's ideal for backend processes that require reliable or regular updates. It supports both XML and JSON requests and responses. So if your external systems require XML, we can support that too. So I'm going to walk you through now a little bit of the automations product, but I'm going to start with how you create an automation, how you can configure and edit an automation, how you can see the scheduling capabilities, how we will create access keys, which is a way of authenticating your request to trigger an automation, and how to deploy automations. And some of these will be familiar to you if you've used Flow Connect already. I'm then going to take you through a quick example showing an integration between Salesforce and IFS using automations in the back end. Okay, so I'll just switch my screen share one moment. So available on the screen now is the application package within my Novacura Connect environment organization. And in this screen, you can see we have a new product type called automations here. You can create a new automation by selecting the new button at the top and selecting automations here. And when you create a new automation, you will just give it a name, such as my first automation, and a description if required. The next option you'll need to select is a component. So with automations, there is no native application. You will just attach a component that you can develop that will be your business process. So in this instance, we already have a component created called Create Customer. I'm going to select that one. And I'm going to press Save. Now, when you have components in automations, the components must have no user interaction steps included to be valid to be automations. Now I have a new automation called My First Automation. I'm going to click on the button here and select Settings. In here, I can see the name, description, and the component I've selected and the version that's committed. But I can also see a configuration area here. Per environment, we don't support dev environments for these external executions, but you can obviously run those in the designer. Here you can copy your endpoint and also define a schedule. You can just use, you don't need a schedule to use the endpoint if you want to trigger it from, for example, an external system like Salesforce. In the schedule, you can select the start date and time, and there's a lot of options to choose from where you can choose, for example, weekly, and you can select, just work weeks. So it will only run at 10 a.m. on these specific days. There's lots of configuration here. You can also select an advanced option if you want to use your own cron expression, if you so choose, for more advanced scheduling configuration. You can then press Save, and with that automation saved, you can also create an access key. So how do you execute an automation from an external system? You'll need an access key to do so. So we'll click on the access button, which has been used before for regular user authentication for apps, but now you can also see there's an access key section. I want to grant access to a new app. I go to the Access Grant tab, and then I select the Access Key tab here. I can then generate a new key. I'm going to give it a name. Let's just say my new access key, and a description if needed, and an environment. This access key will only be valid for this particular environment. I'm going to say it's production. I'm going to set an expiration date. It can be years or months or days in the future, however you want to define it. And I'm going to generate the key. This is a one-time key that we presented to you. You will not be able to retrieve it again, so you must make sure you store this in a secure area. But once you generated it, you cannot retrieve this key again. But you can also generate a new key if you lose it. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to be using this key in this example, but that's how you generate an access key. You also need to deploy your automation. So in a deployment screen, which you may be familiar with, you can deploy your automations the same way you would deploy an app. So you can, for example, this new automation we created, we can deploy it to the production environment. There's no committed version because I did not commit the component, but it's the same process. I can just do that here to show you. Same process as before. You just select your environment and the version. You see which one it's already been deployed to, and you can deploy it that way. Okay, so what can I use automations for? Well, I have a create customer automation here, and I also have a Salesforce environment right here in this tab. So I want to create, when I create an account in Salesforce, I want it to create a customer in IFS. That is my use case here. So I've created an automation that creates a customer in IFS based on the information provided by Salesforce. In Salesforce, I've created a trigger that executes when a new account is created, which will then send a message to the automations system, which will execute the automation. So here I'm going to create a new account. I'm just going to give it a name. I'm going to call it CSX Products, spelled. And I'm going to press save. I could fill in information in here if I wanted to, but this should be fine for this example. So I've created this new account. Now I'm going to go to my IFS environment. I'm going to go to the customer screen. And I'm going to search for that customer because it wouldn't exist before. And there it is. My CSX products exists. It's got customer ID of 57. It's just been created. I can go back into Salesforce. I can click on the details tab of my account, and I can see there that the integration ran successfully. It created the customer in IFS, and they returned the IFS customer ID, which I could use, for example, in the account number or another field, custom field in Salesforce if I wanted to. So that shows how you can use automations to simplify your business processes between two systems. And yeah, that's automations in a nutshell. I will hold on. I will stop my sharing and I will hand over to the next participant, which I believe is Andreas.
So in Flow Connect, we are reworking the offline functionality to be more effective in mixed online and offline scenarios. So the first part is the ability to preload data that can be used in your application, regardless of whether you are offline or not. You can define the data to be downloaded before the application is executed. So this is useful not only for offline scenarios, but also when working with large data sets or using the app in environments with slow connections. Local data resources are configured in the designer in a similar way as in Classic, as you can see in the image. The next part is synchronizing work. So transactions created in offline mode can be configured to queue up and be sent when the client is online. I will now show a demo of the preload functionality in the web client. So to manage your local data, we have added a new icon in the top right corner of the client. A red dot indicates that some data is missing. So if we click on My Data, we can manage the downloads. you can see all the application that requires preloaded data. Data can be downloaded individually, per application, or for all applications at once. So let's download everything. Now we are downloading data, and we are now able to run the application, and the local data will be used. So let's run the stock count application. The preloaded data for inventory location and parts are used. And I set the quantity and click Save. And the transaction will be saved in an online mode in this application. So that's preloading data in the client. We are working on implementing the next feature, and that is sync work. So sync work will be added to the My Data screen in a separate tab, and this is what it will look like in the web client. And the functionality will be similar as in Classic. And this is the same information in the mobile client. Preload, local data, and sync work are the first feature for offline in Connect. And preload will be available in April, and sync work later in Q2. So with that, I will hand it over to Malin for some portal news.
I will show you what we've been up to in the portal during Q1. We have added 2 new portlets. The link portlet, which is the equivalent of the workflow portlet in Portal 2, and the custom content portlet, which is the HTML advanced and HTML table portlets merged into one. And on this quite colorful page where we are visualizing some work order information from IFS, you will find a custom content portlet to the left, 1 to the right, a normal table in the middle, and 3 link portlets in a container at the bottom. So let's have a closer look at the configuration of the custom content portlet and some changes that we've done compared to Portal 2. The first change we've done is that we made the data source optional. So it's no longer mandatory to have a data source. And this is because we've had some customers that wanted to use the portlet just to visualize some hard-coded data. And then obviously it's quite unnecessary to have to add a dummy data source just to get the portlet to work. So data source optional, no longer mandatory. We also made some changes in the presentation section, which is where you add the CSS and the HTML code. And instead of having just one header and one body section, there's now multiple sections that the developer can add. And the sections are of 2 types. It's either static, meaning that it's a fixed content block, or it's dynamic, meaning that the section will repeat multiple times based on the data source. And it's also possible when you configure the blocks to move them around a little bit using the drag and drop here to the to the left. And we also have pagination option that you can select. So if I click on pagination and preview, you can see that there is pagination added at the bottom here. But I don't want that for this particular portlet. In my example, I have 3 sections, the header and footer being static and the tiles in the middle being dynamic. And I also have the table that the custom content portlet is listening to. So if I click on a row, so in this case work order 10, you can see that the header and footer is updated with data and that the work order tasks are displayed dynamically here in the middle. If I click on another one, you can see that the middle is changing here. So it's just the work order tasks connected to that specific work order that is displayed. Then we have the link portlets. And as I said, that's the equivalent of the workflow portlet in Portal 2. So it's where you can connect apps for the user to execute in the portal. In this case, just a random stock count app that I added. We extended the functionality quite a bit here. So it's not only for apps, it's also for external URLs. So I can actually log into IFS straight away, just by clicking on that link that I had in the link portlet. So this will open the lobby in IFS. And the third option that we will have on the portal page is that we can move to different pages. So instead of moving through the navigator, I can click here and it will take me to a different page. This one displaying just some more options and UI configuration of the custom content portlet. So you can see that you can go basically wild with the UI and do a lot of fancy stuff. Both the custom content portlet and link portlet has got quite a lot of future potential, and we have identified 6 features that we would like to get your feedback on. So there will be a Mentimeter link in the chats. Please log into that one and give us your input, what you find important, what is not important, what is useful, not useful, and so on. And that will help us determining the order in which these features will be done. And with that, I will stop sharing and hand over to Alexandra, who will talk about AI.
Thank you very much, Malin. My name is Alexandra, and I will present today a new feature called FlowScript Copilot. This is an AI-powered assistant chatbot that was designed to support users in creating FlowScript code. It offers Copilot-like experience and specifically tailored to FlowScript. It has numerous features. Basically, it can generate code examples and even functions. And I would like to demo what it can do in practice. So to find FlowScript Copilot, you have to go to Designer and you have to click Tools to initiate FlowScript Playground. From here, you need to go and click magic button, and FlowScript Copilot will be initiated as a chatbot. Let's see what it can do in practice. Let's assume that we have 2 tables and we want to join them. So I will ask our Copilot, how can I join the orders table with product table, and I want to include product name and price for each order. And the Copilot will generate in real time the response, which is consisted of 2 parts: the explanation of how to do this and the example of the code that you can copy and paste to the playground, and you can test it by running it. And you can see that it is fully workable and it provides the output, so we can provide a positive feedback to our FlowScript Copilot. The chatbot is context aware, so we can follow up with next questions within the same use case. So let's add to the same table a new column called order value, which is quantity multiplied by price. So the Copilot generates the code, and as in previous steps, we will copy and paste it to run and test. And it is very cool feature, because if the code contains any errors, it will be highlighted in the playground and you can see what the error is about. And you can follow up on this with the chatbot as well. The chatbot is capable also to generate functions. Let's generate function that joins 2 tables and calculate order value in the same step. This is our prompt, and you can see that it generated function. And let's try it in our playground, if it works or not. We just copy it and paste, and then we just run it. And you can see the result in the playground if it returns any value. And we see that it does not return value. Let's assume that Copilot has generated the incorrect code. So we can provide negative feedback, and from the menu, we can choose the reason for that. Let's say it is unclear or purely structured code. And we will be glad to get this feedback, because through the feedback, we will continuously improve our Copilot. But in this particular example, the function was correctly generated. The problem is that we did not provide input or mock data to get the value. So let's correct the prompt, and let's put some mock data into the prompt and see if the Copilot will generate the function that will return some value. So it has generated the function. Let's copy it and paste into the playground and run it. And you will see that in this particular case, it returns value and works. So you received fully working, reusable function that you can use in creation of your workflows. At this point, I would like to hand over to Lukasz. Thank you very much.
I'm Lukasz Majer. I'm a business solutions manager, and I'm here today to tell you about our Novacura marketplace of apps, because since 1st of March, I'm also responsible for this library of applications. And from that date, we also have, we call it a new opening for the marketplace, because we created a dedicated team. We call them Business Applications Factory, who will focus on developing these apps. It's not just the name, we literally doubled the number of resources we have to constantly develop our applications. But it obviously wouldn't make sense itself if we wouldn't have a new strategy for the marketplace. And I'm here to quickly present you that new strategy. As you most likely know, our current marketplace library consists of a few dozens of applications supporting Inform3 and IFS, and they are dedicated to support some logistic or manufacturing process areas. We also have elements called components. These are library functions, common functions. These are not fully functional applications, but elements you can use in your own projects. And in addition to that, we have full-size applications such as warehouse management application, shop floor reporting application, or field services management application. This is the current mix of various items. But we also listen to your feedback, and we really take care of that feedback. And during the last user conference in September, I organized a quick survey, and I asked the Novacura Flow developers community to get the most demanded types of applications. And according to the results we received, the most frequently selected items were useful examples or components fragments, the elements that developers can use while building their own applications. So you don't prioritize big applications, you rather prioritize a bunch of components and elements that you can then use freely in your own creations. So considering that feedback, our future for the marketplace will look like this. We are going to put a lot of emphasis on the library of examples. The example is also like end-to-end application, but it doesn't deliver a business functionality. It exists to illustrate how to, for instance, deal with external systems, how to integrate with them, how to use the fancy technologies such as machinery integration or AI, you name it. So these are the examples, but this is not the only change. We are also going to eliminate full-size solutions from the marketplace library. But before you're scared, please wait until I explain what we will give you instead. And these will be delivered under separate subscriptions. But instead, we are introducing a specific type of example called tutorial. Tutorial is an example that shows you how to use the newly delivered capabilities of Flow Connect. So once we have a new release, when we deliver new capabilities, as we presented today for automations or for offline, you will be quickly able to download particular tutorials from the marketplace and see how to use these new capabilities properly. So this is the tutorial. Another element we were going to add to the marketplace is a specific type of components dedicated to present FlowScript libraries called modules. So these are the library functions that you can use in your projects to sort out specific problems like GS1 barcode decoding, to just name one. So these are FlowScript modules, but obviously it's not enough to cover the problem with these application packages. And we have a very special offer for our existing marketplace customers. For those who currently have active marketplace subscription, we plan to convert their existing standard marketplace plan into the marketplace premium plan without additional cost. And with that premium plan, you will still keep access to these full-size applications. So this change doesn't affect existing marketplace customers. To sum it up, our strategy, before I hand over to my colleague, we will put emphasis of examples, tutorials, and FlowScript modules, but we'll also keep maintaining and delivering new base applications and components. Now, I believe time for a live demo, so I'm handing over to my colleague, Adam.
Thank you, Lukasz. Hi, everyone. It's Adam from Business Factory Apps team. Let me share my screen and let's kick off. Okay, so as Lukasz mentioned, I would like to give you a practical example of how examples can be utilized in your daily businesses. And this, what you're seeing here, is just the Flow Connect web client. And an example that I would like to guide you through is the one that actually interacts with OpenAI. So if I click on this one, what we have here on the left-hand side is basically a list of 25 different miscellaneous items. As you see, the names are not created, and they're not following any particular logic. So sometimes you see that there's like explanation part, sometimes you see the model number, sometimes you see also the sizes. Below that, we have also a dictionary, and this dictionary consists of 4 different categories: packaging, furniture, car parts, and food. So my intention is obviously to ask the request ChatGPT to assign those categories to my entire list. So we will see if that actually some form of logic and intellectual thinking works. So if I actually press next here, I would like to send over such a prompt over to ChatGPT, and let's see how it will process it. So upon pressing next, what's happening now is that we're sending over requests with our data set that's been prepared, and I would expect to get some form of a table back as a result with 2 columns showing my items and the categories. And here we go. So as you see now, if you can check a couple of records here, we have, for instance, herbal tea here, which belongs to food. We have armchair that belongs to furniture. And let's say something with car parts, we have brake pad set that is clearly car parts here. So again, this is just an example which basically shows you how you can, for instance, interact with ChatGPT. And again, as Lukasz mentioned, more and more stuff will come in the future. So for those of you that are subscribed to our marketplace, please stay tuned. I would like now to summarize a little bit what we've been up to when it comes to the marketplace. So first and foremost, what Lukasz mentioned, tutorials and examples, this is not just theory. These are practical application examples and tutorials that are already available on the marketplace. So first, go ahead there, check marketplace content and download them, adapt them to your own working solutions. I bet you will like them, and more will come, of course, in the future. When it comes to other stuff like components and base applications, I try to name those which are particularly, I think, interesting from my perspective. We try to deliver components, for instance, to be as much ERP independent as possible. You know that I myself come from Info M3 World. You guys are from IFS, so it's important also to mention that certain problems and challenges are the same regardless of what type of ERP background you're coming from. As an example, for instance, multi-data barcode decoder is a FlowScript module that allows you to decode the string that comes from a scanned GS1 barcode type. So for instance, you have a barcode that consists of part number, batch number, quantity, I don't know, best before date you mentioned. Then obviously it's actually the possibility to decode that barcode and bring it directly to your user step with populating all the possible versus tech inputs at the same time and simultaneously. List items calculator, for instance, is another very useful tool to picture it how it practically can utilize. I believe all of you have possibility in your supermarkets to, for instance, fetch a scanner and self-scan the products that are on the shelves and basically fill up your basket and scan. So you see basically the total results, what type of products you've scanned, and basically all those things are incrementing, for instance, if you're scanning the same product twice or 3 times. So now imagine the same solution being for the ERP world. Very useful, especially, for instance, when you have a very detailed picking, like in the food and beverage industry, when you have to scan consumer packs and you would wish to have everything inside one screen incremented all together. For instance, if you have decimals, it's very, very hard to actually count it in your head. And just pulling out an external calculator device is better, basically, to keep everything in the flow. Submit absence requests, it's bound towards IFS customers that are working heavily with HR person department. So that means also this is like some form of a forecoming for what's gonna, what type of areas we would like to focus on in the next quarter. Definitely, it's going to be a lot about HR, about project planning, about the finance. So please stay tuned with our updates. And then to summarize, the total of our applications that we released so far in Flow Connect are 104 from IFS Uniform 3. And don't forget that we also constantly try to update our documentation on Marketplace. So we also stay updated with the latest trends. With this being said, I would like to hand it over to Paul. Thank you.
So I think a lot of really interesting things coming in the product, which is great to see. However, we don't just do this for Flow Connect. We also have some updates for Flow Classic. A few of the noteworthy ones I'd like to take you through here. We've introduced new configuration options in the Infor M3 REST connector, which allow leading zeros in number fields to be preserved for both input and output data. This ensures data consistency, especially when working with fields where leading zeros may be meaningful. We've also improved our OPC UA connector by introducing session caching to that connector. This significantly boosts performance by reducing the need to repeatedly establish new connections each time you're using one of these connectors. We've made a few updates to the integration engine at this point. We've updated the AI transformation model in Azure to use an Azure AI, and ultimately this is just delivering more enhanced accuracy and better performance. You'll note in the screen cap here, this button is what suggests how the transformation will happen. We've also resolved some issues wrapped around the SQL execution timeouts. We've improved our variable storage, leading to faster processing and improved efficiency as well when using variables. In our most recent release, which is 6.15.15, we've added the Upgrade Companion. And the Upgrade Companion helps us, Novacura, analyze which features are being actively used in Flow Classic to assess the overall size of the customer solution. We are able to collect a little bit of data from the servers, such as workflow execution frequency, the number of steps in a workflow, and the connectors in use. This ultimately helps provide a more accurate estimate for transitioning customers to Flow Connect. It gives us a deeper understanding and allows us to sort of streamline the migration process, ideally minimizing disruptions and ensuring maybe a smoother and more efficient experience for our customers as they choose to upgrade. So if you haven't upgraded to 6.15.15, we strongly suggest it, and therefore we can provide you a better estimate of what it would take to get you to Flow Connect. And we've also released Portal 2, a new version, 2025.1. Here we have quite a few updates Some most notable updates are that we've optimized the session service. It's allowing, faster startups and restarts of the server. We have improved walker logs, which allow better traceability. This is really helpful for customers who may be struggling with Portal and the maybe performance issues within Portal. It helps us pinpoint where those issues may have come from, if they're from the server itself, or if they're from Portal or the API that Portal has. We've made some changes and optimized the document loading speeds in the document viewer. We've also improved some error handling there, and then obviously fixed a good chunk of bugs that come along with the product, including the Gantt drag and drop errors, incorrect date time conversions in the record portlet, and task filtering inconsistencies within the scheduler. So once again, if you haven't seen these, it is merely just a small representation of the features that we've made over the past quarter in Classic. Beyond what we're showing in those screen caps, we suggest that you explore the release logs at docs.novacura.com. So let's talk a little bit about what features are coming in the future. Right now, our primary goal of Q2 is to try to make a seamless upgrade process for our customers migrating from Flow Classic to Flow Connect. You'll see here that consists of a few new features in the quarter Q2. Ideally, we want to try to ensure a frictionless migration from Classic to Connect. And one area that we need to focus on is the OData migration. So for the customers using the OData connector, our goal is to simplify the transition here when you import workflows into Flow Connect, which may utilize the OData connector. So we are going to be working heavily on this over the next quarter. We also want to not only ensure that the process of offline applications is similar from Flow Classic to Connect, but we want to make sure that we support enhanced functionality, which I'll show in a second, called local storage. So our plan is to make the offline capability within Flow Connect a bit better based on some of the feature requests that we've seen. And then one more very notable feature is our runtime on-premise proof of concept. Here, we are trying to offer a hybrid approach to our customers who come on Flow Connect and require on-prem runtime environments. To be clear, in this quarter, our goal is to explore the options Novacura has to offer on-premise runtime to our customers and see which make the most benefit to our customers and which solutions we could possibly offer in the future. You can see that we have quite a few features leading into Q3 as well, and I projecting out here till Q1 of 2026. But if you have questions on any of these, you can also see our roadmap and more details on each of these features inside of our public-facing roadmap by scanning the QR code there in the bottom right hand of the screen. So in these next few slides, I'm going to talk a little bit about each feature that we plan to work on in Q2. My request to each of you is that if this is something that seems meaningful to you, something that your business would find value in and wants to provide feedback on, we ask that you scan the QR codes and vote on the idea. This will make sure that as we release these features or even ask questions to our customers, you're included in that process if you vote. It will lead you to our ideas forum and ultimately put you as a voter on the idea. The first one here is local storage. Local storage is a way for Flow to ensure seamless performance when offline. Ideally, it's a way to securely cache data on the device, allowing the users to continue work uninterrupted. It is our way of trying to better the process of editing data when you're in an offline scenario. Today, if you want to edit offline data, you are able to do that and ultimately even make changes to that edited data via FlowScript. But our goal is to try to make that a bit seamless for our customers in the future and maybe not require as much FlowScript. So there are some ideas here on better caching of this data on this user voice idea. If you have some thoughts, we would love to hear them. Please make those comments known by scanning the QR code. The next one is container in container. And this feature is allowing for more dynamic and flexible UIs within the portal. We're thinking that by embedding containers within containers, users can configure portlets in multiple layers, enabling maybe more advanced layouts and improving the data views for either your customers or your employees. We will be working on the new map portlet, and this allows users to display maps, geographical data representation. It's like a visual representation of that geographical information. So if you haven't used the map portlets, it's a good opportunity to take a look at it. This feature is really ideal for tracking locations, visualizing trends along data, and making some decisions based on spatial analysis of the globe, right? We will be putting the file system connector in place. Here you can easily integrate and automate your file management systems by connecting to those local file systems. There is a list here, if you scan this QR code, of the actions we will take from Flow Classic. Right now, we plan to support about 65% of the functions that are most commonly used in the Flow Classic file system. So if you have actions that you're using on the file system connector, we strongly suggest voting on this one and giving us some feedback. We will also be working on web links. This web links will eliminate the need for users to manually navigate today. So in Flow Connect, if you don't know this, we can send the app.novacura link, but ideally we're able to take users straight to a specific application, improving the user experience. So we will be adding web links in the next quarter to allow individuals to receive a link to direct applications. And also, we're starting our journey on telemetry and business process mining. So for those who haven't heard me speak of this concept before, I go back to the YouTube videos. The concept of leveraging business process mining is ideally to help us gain better insights into our workflows, to support maybe better data-driven decision-making and optimizing the performance of our flows in general. Which flows are used most frequently, which steps are taking the most time, where should I spend time developing, or how many hours have I spent in the past month working in a specific workflow, and how much time has that saved me? These are all great questions you can pull from business process mining. And it starts with us storing the telemetry data so that we can utilize it to answer some of these questions. If you have thoughts on what data should be saved and that would be beneficial to answer questions, once again, scan this QR code, provide that feedback to us. We are going through the business requirements today to try to establish the data that we would like to see saved in these environments and organizations over the next quarter. And last but not least is the runtime on-premise concept. So here, the idea is that we will design workflows in the cloud, but we will also use local run. We will support local runs and executions behind the firewall for optimal security and performance. If this is a feature that you think you're using today or will need in the future for Connect, make sure to vote on this one. We are going through each of the customers and trying to align on which of the few options that we plan to offer in the Flow Connect so that we can understand your need for on-premise runtime. And although these are the ones we're working on over the next quarter, Please remember that we take your ideas very seriously. If you have ideas that you're not seeing inside of this presentation, please do go to ideas.novacura.com, voice your opinion. It's what drives our innovation. Then I think the next step here is to open up for Q&A. And I see we have a couple of questions inside the chat. So let's see if we can get these answered.
Yes, thank you, Paul. Maybe we start with the first question that is about automations. Maybe Lloyd, you can take this question. The question is, does the automations support async communication? If so, how does that work in Connect?
Yes, so we will fully support asynchronous communication in Connect with automations. How that will work is you will, if your execution takes longer than 3 minutes, you will automatically receive a callback URL for 202 response, which gives you an ability to query for the status of your execution going forward. At the moment, we're looking at putting in a limit of around 10 minutes additional execution time on top of the 3 minutes that you get with a synchronous call. That may change in the future depending on customer needs, but at the moment we support it and it's going to be quite easy to use.
Yep. Thank you, Lloyd. One more question related to scheduling. Will the machine workflows available in Connect?
Will be available in probably by the end of April. We'll have this fully released to customers in live.
Yep. Thank you. The next question is related to Portal. Can you pause an executed user workflow from Portal? Malin?
I need to unmute myself. Not yet, not in the link portlet, but in April we will start working on yet another portlet. This one will be called My Apps. And for those of you familiar with Portal 1, there was a portlet there called Menu Portlets. So this My Apps will be a portlet where the user can see all the apps they got access to. So in the link portlet, the designer will have to pick the specific app, but in My Apps, it will be all the apps that the user got access to. And as part of the development of that specific portlet, we would also have to look at the pausing of workflow. So I will have to come back about that one.
Yep, thank you, Malin. One more question related to Portal. Is it possible to pass parameters on the link portlet?
Not yet. It was one of the options in the Mentimeter query and one of the things that we for sure would like to do. So if it's something that you find interesting, please click on the link in the chat and vote on that specific feature.
Yes, thank you, Malin. We take the question related to FlowScript Copilot. Will the FlowScript Copilot be made available for Flow Classic Studio as well?
Unfortunately, no. It is only available in Connect, and we also plan to enhance its capabilities in the future when the new web designer will be available. So it will be integrated into the development environment, and it will enhance its intelligence and also user experience as well. So be tuned, and it is a good motivation to have a Connect, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Alexandra.
Yeah, we should also make a comment there, I think, Alexandra, that FlowScript has a few changes from Classic to Connect, right? So there's quite a bit of adjustments. Specific, like the biggest one that we've always talked about is that we now have data types inside of FlowScript, which is quite a big change when you think about FlowScript in Classic, which sort of handles everything as like a string variable, right? So it's one of the reasons we made this FlowScript Copilot available in Connect so that we can support our customers. And you'll also see, I mean, we've demoed quite a few times like these FlowScript modules now, right? Our hope is to move into the FlowScript modules and start to move customers into that concept because of the power that comes along with these AI copilots. you saw how quickly code could get generated inside of those FlowScript modules. So instead of having those quote unquote WYSIWYG style editors, right, inside of the connector steps, we have now maybe a little bit more scripting, but ideally the AI agent is able to support us in that process quite a bit better. So I'm excited to see how we use it against things like modules in the future, and even communicating with IFSO data and in 4M3 REST API, for example.
Yes, we got one more question related to front client. Does the Novacura client aim to replace the custom created front-end UI?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure I fully understand that one though, Mohammed. Maybe you could ask it differently. Does the Novacura client, like the mobile or web client, aim to replace a custom created front-end UI? I mean, I think there's two ways you could use Flow. I think in the most, if I'm understanding this question correctly, most cases our customers use us as the front end. So customers would build the front end and back end in Novacura Flow. That doesn't mean that we have to be the front end. If some customer could arguably build a front end in another tool and then communicate via us with the back end portion of it, right, through an API. Lloyd just showed how automations could be used via an HTTP request, for example. That is also an option. I don't think we see that too often. But if you want to give some more details, maybe we could answer that differently.
Yeah. Maybe we can take one more question before we go for the closing statements. Related to the offline functionality, is there a difference between Connect and Classic in terms of the offline capabilities?
I can take that one. Yes and no. As Andreas showed, there will be more in Connect compared to Classic, but for those of you who are used to using offline in Classic and will be migrating the Classic flows, it will be very, very similar. But what we're trying to do is to remove the in Classic, you're kind of locked into, you have to run it in offline mode in order to use the suitcases. And we're trying to go away from that in Connect, just to basically make it more flexible so it can be used in more places in the future. So similar, but not. You'll see when it arrives.
Yes, thank you, Malin. I think that's all from the Q&A, and I'll hand it over to Paul for the closing statement.
Very nice. Thank you. So I just want to say I really appreciate everyone coming to this meeting today. We'll continue to do these per quarter, so be on the lookout for the next invite. Just a reminder that we really do take your feedback seriously. The best thing you can do for us to make sure that the features that we're developing meet your requirements for either now or in the future is to vote on those ideas and put your comments into user voice. We are often looking at that, and it is our channel to communicate back to you as customers and get your feedback. So here we're polling customers on, is this feature going to work for your use, as an example. So please take some time, do vote on the ideas that we'll be working on over the next quarter, and we hope to communicate with you there. Otherwise, look forward to seeing you all next quarter.